right, guys, thank you so much for joining me today. We're just going to, I'm really excited to be implementing this co-teaching plan to help try and, increase our student achievement, especially with our students that have disabilities. And I think that the co-teaching is just a great way to get them into the regular education setting and still be receiving their services, and also just help all kids that might be struggling, or we have some that kind of fall beneath the crack, and also give you guys time to do enhancement maybe with some of the higher ones. And I don't know, I just feel like two heads are better than one. So I'm really excited. One of the things I thought we should think about might be like our strengths and weaknesses as we go into this together. So I'll start, and I guess some of the strengths that I bring to the team are, I feel like I can really help with some of those accommodations and modifications, obviously. I'm fresh, so maybe I'll have some new ideas. Being in the new classes, switch things up a little bit. Some of my fears about it are like not knowing enough about the content that we're teaching, and misleading somebody, I guess, would be something I'm worried about. What about you guys?
My biggest concern about co-teaching is our freedom like schedule, so seeing each other every other day. And it makes it really difficult. Another worry that I sometimes have is about being judged by other teachers. But I think a strength that I bring is a willingness to share my classroom and relinquish control. I don't feel like it's my classroom.
I know the other day in one of my classes, like my co-teacher literally said, I thought you were going to judge me about using that strategy wrong that we learned at our beginning of the school year meetings. And I was like, oh my gosh, no. And so I don't think you're alone in that fear. And I think that as special education teachers, maybe we aren't experts in the content, but maybe we are in different learning strategies that help the struggling learners learn. And so I think that's what we as a team can bring to the table.
I'm worried about being judged too.
I know.
Because, I'm new to the school, and I moved from ESL to teaching English language arts, so there's a lot of things I'm not 100% on. I'm kind of learning as I'm going, so yeah. Those would be some of my weaknesses, but also I'm coming with a lot of team teaching experience, and very flexible, and I've worked with SPED students before, specifically ones who were SPED and ESL combined, so hopefully I can bring those strengths and make my lessons so that they're beneficial to all learners.
Maybe it's a good thing that we all know that everyone's worried about being judged, because if everyone's worried about it, then why is anyone worried about it?
Be more sensitive to each other's.
Yeah.
It's so funny that it never scares me to like stand up and talk in front of the kids, but if standing up and talking in front of you guys, it definitely can make me nervous sometimes. Okay, so I think that Rachel brought up a really good point with the green and white day, and I think that is the biggest struggle that people face whenever they're trying to implement co-teaching, especially when you're in a school like ours where we don't have block scheduling, our schedule's not set up in the way that we all have the same planning times and things like that. Do we have any ways that we think that maybe we can work around that, get together once a week, maybe even twice a week, even if it's just for 10 or 15 minutes? Or is there anything you guys are doing with your other co-teachers that might be working?
You are my only co-teacher.
Okay, then I guess we're gonna have to figure it out on our own. No, really, one idea I did have to this problem, and it's not a solution, but it's just something, it'll just add some time, is trying to move around my morning a little bit, and since I'm with you guys first hour, maybe we could have that 7:45 to 8. So even though it's only 15 minutes, if we could maybe do it at once a week or twice a week, or even once before school, maybe once after school, be a little extra.
My teachers that I'm co-teaching with are really good about just sending me an email with their lesson plans in it, and so they're always willing if I'm like, hey, hey, I think maybe we should teach this that way. If I am assertive and I bring it to them, they're okay with it. And so that's one way we're kind of going about it. I don't know, like in science this week, they went over the scientific method, and I knew they were going to be taking notes on the Chromebook. So that gave me the chance to print off the PowerPoint and get it, like to put right next to my kids so they could look to the PowerPoint and type it instead of at the board and type it. So email is definitely very helpful, and I think with the technology we have and without having as much time, that might be a solution too.
Mhm.
Just to make sure everyone's in the loop about everything, so you don't walk in not knowing what's going on at all.
And then here was the thing that I worried about that when we go into via email is I wasn't sure how you guys plan. Like a lot of times when I plan, I am writing by hand in my lesson plan book. But usually there are supplemental materials that go along with, so when we're running copies or anything like that, we could always just scan it, even if we knew what materials we're looking over. I don't know, how do you guys plan with that? Would sending an email, just like heads up, you know, tomorrow we're going to do spelling, I mean, I don't know. But you know what I'm saying? Would that be something that would be doable, or, because I'm afraid that people are going to view the co-teaching as more work. And it is. I mean, it really is a little, but I mean, I think it'll be worth it. But I also, if I can avoid overload, you know, I think we should do that because I know we're all feeling the pressure right now anyway.
I do like the idea of the morning check-ins though, and at least once or twice a week.
Let's say I've been getting here around 7 each morning, so 7:45 is completely fine.
Oh, well, that's good to know because I'm generally here a little bit early as well.
7:45 is the earliest I can get here with my situation.
Well, and I think that's just what we're gonna have to do is just kind of start grabbing those little snippets of time and catching up when we can. You know, we're just gonna have to make the best of what we have. So, as we go into the planning and things like that, one thing that I thought might work well for us is since you guys are the content specialists, maybe we could start with you guys kind of handling the content, and then as Courtney said, we can try to implement and apply some different strategies, however that might look throughout the room for some of our kiddos that we know may not be able to complete the task as the other ones are. And so if you are making copies, or if there is going to be a worksheet, if we have that, one thing that would be nice too is we could already have those accommodations maybe made and put in there if we had that. So that would be good too. So if we needed to modify something, it could just already be done when we go into class. If that sounds like a good idea. Okay. And then we're going to be learning a lot more about this tomorrow and looking at how we can break up that instruction and planning. But one thing I thought would be good to do in this meeting too is just kind of talk about our ground rules for operating as a team, because I feel like the most important thing that we need to have is trust within each other. So what are some ideas for some ground rules?
Just open communication. Feel free to come talk to me about any students or any new ideas, and because I'm really flexible and ready to work with you. So I just avoid like negatives for the first couple weeks till we all get into the swing of things, because I know I'm nervous, and constructive feedback's good, but.
Yeah, that's funny. That was actually one of the examples that they gave us, was that when you start the co-teaching process, that you don't really do any negatives within the first month, that it just tries to be positive feedback. And I think we have to be realistic in the fact that we're not always going to agree with each other's methods or delivery or maybe how you say something, and that's just gonna, I feel like it's just gonna be okay, you know? And if we have an alternate strategy, we can talk about that at another time. That's not in front of the class either, for sure.
I think it's, for me, it's absolutely okay though, if you have another way to think about it, or you want to just interject and throw up a different kind of example up on the board, or whatever the case may be, because hearing it in different ways is going to help all kids.
So like if we're just rephrasing your instructions or something
And
like that.
I'm never offended by anything like that, so. So those small, that's a big deal. I do think because time is of the essence here, we don't have a whole lot of time. We don't want to waste our time venting about problems. I think our discussions should be solution oriented.
Totally agree. And then one of the other ground rules that I had read in a book that I really liked was what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. Just meaning that, you know, what happens in our classroom with each other and as we're teaching is, you know, we need to feel like there is trust and confidentiality and whatnot, that, you know, we've got that together, that we're a team and that nobody, you know, what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas, pretty much. So, okay, well, as you guys know, tomorrow we're going to have some more training on co-teaching. I think we're going to be going into more of the communication and evaluation and student behaviors and like looking at all of those decisions that we used to make on our own, but we're going to start making together. So those might be things that we want to think about as we're going into the training tomorrow. Planning of content, our different strengths, unique talents, how we're going to present the content, which method of instruction are we going to use? Is this lesson going to be good for one teach, one observe, or station teaching, or parallel teaching, or, you know, and that, so once we learn about all those things, I think it'll be a little bit easier to go in and actually apply that. But those might be things that we are thinking about as we go into tomorrow. And then on the last page that I have kind of given to you, it's kind of just have a sample of ways that you can kind of split up the responsibilities as needed. And so I think it would be good if we kind of maybe looked at this tonight, looked at it maybe before our training and got a little bit of an idea or what in your mind you think how it should go, and then tomorrow we can kind of look at it together and see what aligns and see what the differences are, and then how we can meet in the middle on that. Does that sound like a game plan? Okay, well, I appreciate you guys taking the extra time to stay with me after school and being part of my team.